Hey everybody, this is JoshSuth with iCCup.tv, and I'm here with Raelcun, and we're casting this best of three between two very well-known players. Day 9, everybody's favorite. He picked Protoss. No, he did not pick Protoss. He picked random here for this third game and drew Protoss for a third time in a row. If you saw the other two games, you saw that he has actually drawn Protoss every single time, so random not being too random there, and he is up there at the top as the yellow Protoss in Kulas Ravine, and Orb down here at the bottom as the pink Protoss.
Yeah, and we all know my feelings on pink. Not the biggest fan of Orb, but he is going pink, so he's getting a couple extra points in my book just because of that. Gonna move out and start his pylon right at the choke point, while Day 9's building his a little bit further back, and that does possibly make it seem like he's going to be playing a bit more defensive just to choke off his entrance with the gateway and possibly a cybernetics core and make it difficult for Day 9 to get in here early. As on Kulas Ravine at least, just because that really narrow choke and the lack of a ramp, you can sometimes pick up clues on what your opponent's planning based on where they build their gateway. So, like with Day 9's building placement, it's back, he's not covering the choke point at all. He could kind of build a gateway up there just to restrict it a little bit, but it wouldn't be a whole lot. So most likely he's going to stay back, maybe go for more gateways and, be aggressive.
Well, what are your thoughts on random players drawing the same race as someone who mains it? For example, right now, Orb mains Protoss. He's played hundreds and hundreds of games as Protoss, and Day 9, playing random, it has to be familiar with 9 different matchups. Drawing the same matchup 3 times in a row certainly helps him get a little bit more comfortable with it, but I usually tend to favor the person who mains the race in these sort of matchups.
Yeah, but it's normally going to be like, well, okay, Orb would be at an advantage here getting Protoss this many times just because he's more familiar with the mirror matchup, like you said. But, I mean, it's freaking Day 9. He's a very, very knowledgeable person. It's not like he's going to be at a lack for knowledge on the matchup. He watches a lot of games. He plays a lot of games. So, he's still in this. There's still going to be this early rock, paper, scissors going on. They're trying to scout at each other's builds with what's going on here. Seeing this building placement by Orb and, the quick gas, he's got to be thinking that he's going for some sort of a quick tech. So what he's doing with this probe is he's seeing if he gets the second gateway or not. Because if he skips the second gateway, then he's going to be vulnerable to some sort of really early attack. And if he doesn't, then Day 9's going to have to sit back, most likely, and play for a longer game. His second gateway is finishing. His warp gates is researching while Orb's is not. And you can only actually see if they're researching warp gates if they chrono boost it, sadly, because there's no animation.
Right. The cybernetics core looks the same all the time.
Yeah, and it does look like Orb is actually going to skip the second gateway, but he does get chased off. But if he was going to start the second gateway, he probably would have started before he got chased off anyway. So he's got this idea in his head, okay, he's going one gateway, Robo. It could be a Stargate, but most likely it's going to be a robotics facility. So if you see, he's actually rallying his stalkers right towards Orb's base. And that's probably why he's being so aggressive here, is that he sees one gateway into tech. And he went 2 gateway, really quick warp gate. So he's a little bit ahead in this early game PvP rock, paper, scissors fight.
Orb's saying oops here because I think he realizes right now that he is behind in actual fighting units currently, and even though Day 9 hadn't seen that robotics facility until right now, he's basically learning for the first time that he is at a big advantage, so he is most likely going to keep cranking out stalkers, and he does take out both of the stalkers of Orb. He's chrono boosting another one here, but Day 9 actually could be getting some free shots on this pylon right now. Finally moves back in and starts shooting lasers at it, but Orb, has 3 production facilities now, started an actual immortal in his robotics facility. His pylon goes down there at the front, and he gets 1 stalker out, but he's not going to be able to do anything on his own, so he needs to be careful with that so he doesn't just waste it completely.
Yeah,
and moves in with his 5 stalkers now.
Yeah, and getting those first two stalkers is actually a really big deal because it meant that Orb couldn't pull back, let the shields regen, and then support this immortal. Because now he basically just has one stalker, one immortal, and a bunch of probes, and he's losing a lot of probes here. This immortal's going to do tons of damage, but if you look at the worker count, he's down almost 10 workers. There we go, 10 workers now. Because he was forced to pull his probes to defend. So even though he pushed him off with that immortal, he's still pretty far behind. And now he's pushing out with this immortal. I'm not sure what that's about, as it is going to do severe amounts of damage, but these 5 stalkers are probably going to take it out as the shields are down now. One more stalker falls. Second, actually, he's down to 1 stalker, but he does just barely kill that immortal.
And we're now down to a sentry versus stalker firefight here. Constant lasers going on, and J9 is the victor there.
I don't know, Orb should have been doing that sentry micro.
Yeah.
Might have been able to pick off that stalker. Are you familiar with the sentry micro?
I'm not, but right now it looks like Day9, even though those force fields are keeping him out of the base, he's still in range of that gateway, so too bad for Orb. He's going to be losing that gateway here shortly unless he can get another immortal out very quickly, which he's not because it's still 20% done.
Yeah, somebody found out that the sentry actually does damage right at the start of its animation. So if you get really good at like right click and then A move, right click and then A move, so that it starts its animation and stops it immediately, you can actually increase its DPS a little bit.
Interesting. So it is it's a ticking damage over time sort of attack, so that makes sense actually that it starts you know, either at the beginning or the first tick, but beginning makes more sense. But
yeah. It doesn't work in big numbers, but when you've got small amounts of units fighting, it can actually be really, really effective. And we see them positioning again for a big fight here. And look at those force fields. Oh, can he lock it out? Yes, he does. He does trap the immortal, and that's pretty much good game. And Orb taps out, and our massive spectators leaves afterwards. So Day9 does take the series 2-1. And some pretty quick games here from the, I'll let Josh say it. What was this event called?
This was the iCCup TV Extravaganza, aka the children eating, dinosaur hunting, baneling spamming, battle royale explosion fest. But we changed the name just at the last minute. I don't know why, but yeah. But yeah. So really good best of 3 series between Day9 playing random, drawing Protoss 3 times in a row. Can't help it, but he does win the series 2-1.